Hey there. Cheers, friends. Hope you're doing really, really well. It is Tuesday, noon central. Yeah, I look forward to these little live sessions more than I did probably 6 months ago because you just kind of get used to you're talking to a void, but there are really like live people out there. And it seemed a little bit weird at first, but I'm so grateful. The last 2 weeks, actually, the last 2 weeks, I've had more than one. People swing back and go, "Oh my goodness, Dr. Joe." It was like you're reading my mail. Got a lot going on in my life, and what you shared last week or what you shared 2 weeks ago, it just resonated with my bones. And yeah, it opened up a really lively conversation. And that's why I get up in the morning. I think Arnold Schwarzenegger wrote his last book, something about just be useful. I'm like, yeah, that's it. Joe, wake up and just be useful. So I'm hoping that these have been useful to you. I'm hoping that today is useful and on purpose. I'm going to share something today that I've only shared with some of my closest colleagues because it's not anything real vulnerable, but it's kind of a work in process in terms of a concept. Until today, I'm going to go public with it today. But I was just reminded, I was unpacking a bag, and I this had been in there for a while. So yeah, this little stream does not have a sponsor. If you'd like to sponsor this stream, I don't even know how to do it, but let's figure it out. Now, if we had a sponsor, today might be Comet Coffee, the official coffee source of Coconino College. Folks, the most beautiful campus, honestly, that I've been to in the nation. Yeah, it says out of this world. Got a little logo. Isn't that a cute? I shared this, yes, yeah, to love on my good people at Coconino, but also to share the idea of, what's your local coffee shop and why not work on a little collab, huh? Who says you shouldn't? Who said? Oh, that smells good. Mm, mm-mm. So back to that thing. Haven't really shared it much. It's still kind of brewing in terms of a concept. But I've been working with over the course of the last 15 years. It's probably cracked into the thousands of ed leaders working in the ed space, K-12, higher ed, through higher performance group. And I think the conversation that we're not having is the one that's slowly kind of killing campus leadership today. Killing might be a strong word, but it's just diminishing it big time. Last month, I was working with a superintendent who led three really, really successful district transformations. He's kind of the guy that you come in and you hire full transformation. Then the next recruiting group finds him. But this was deep into 11 o'clock p.m. I received a text message, um, text me and said, "Joe, I feel like I'm drowning." I have way more challenges, and I'm built of Kevlar, right? Way more challenges than ever, but somehow way less support than when I started 20 years ago, right? He, he said, "What's wrong with me?" Yeah, I sat there just staring at that text. I was past my bedtime, feeling really just that crushing weight on my own chest because I realized that he was asking the wrong question entirely. It wasn't about what was wrong with him. It was about just a fundamental framework that I would say 80 plus percent of ed leaders never really learn. Have I piqued your interest? You're allowed to feel completely overwhelmed right now about all the things, balancing impossible expectations with the leadership that you have. And every district superintendent, every campus president, I respect, and that's most, has felt exactly what you're feeling when their challenge level that skyrockets, but their support system, it just kind of stays flat. And what's the manifestation of that? What's the result, right? What's at stake? What we're trying to figure out is why leadership feels harder than ever today. There are 50 million students whose future depends on getting this right, boss. No pressure, right? Yeah, and the cost of just burned out leadership it's not even personal. I wouldn't say it's personal. I would say it's generational. Yeah, new perspective. This is not personal. This is a generational issue. So let's be brutally honest about where we're at. NASSP, the principals organization, it reported 68% of educational leaders rate their stress level as unsustainable and has been for years. Harvard Graduate School, it reveals 73% of superintendents cite isolation, loneliness. Yeah. Just despite being surrounded by people all day as their primary leadership challenge. You relate? Yeah, we work in the public system, but loneliness, maybe the new epidemic. Not sure if we have a vaccine for that coming out of the Oval Office. Anyways, we'll save the political stuff for later. But here's the data point that stopped me really, really cold as I kind of prepped for my thinking here. AASA, the superintendent's organization, found that the average superintendent tenure, where is it right now? Average superintendent tenure. If you know this, put it in the chat. I'm waiting. Do you know it? Put it in the chat. 3.2 years. It's not because they lack competence. No, some of the smartest people on the planet running our school systems right now, but because they lack sustainable systems. It reminds 3 weeks ago, I was facilitating a strategic planning retreat, often happens in July. This was about a 15,000 student district, brilliant people, soup with an Ivy League doctorate, like, ugh. I mean, took my shoes off in that space, right? The principals were real, just turnaround experts. Uh, had a CAO, the academic officer, assistant soup, who'd implemented some award-winning STEM programs, like renowned across the nation. Combined, they represented over about 200 years of leadership experience. Tight group, really tight. But watching them in the room, I saw something kind of heartbreaking. I went, huh. You know that emoji with just kind of the flat face? Yeah. People drowning in challenges with no systematic way to build support that they needed. During the break, the soup actually pulled up and said, "Joe, we're all working harder than ever. We can't pedal any faster," is what he said. But it feels like we're running on empty. How do other leaders sustain this? They're not the exemption, right? It's identical in higher ed. Last year, I worked with college president, managing declining enrollments and budgets, faculty tension, you name it, board pressure. She told me, "Hey, I spent 70% of my time in crisis management and about 30% on the strategic operational stuff." She said, "I became a president to work on the strategic work, not just the daily fires." I know that that's speaking really clearly to a number of you. Yeah. Any 40Xers out there? What do you call it? The the whirlwind? Yeah, getting stuck in it, getting stuck. But here's what really hit me. When leaders operate in that survival mode all the time, it doesn't just affect them, right? McKinsey's research, and there's a lot of stuff that's coming out of that amazing organization. Um, it's principal turnover has an impact on it. It increased by 40%. Teacher satisfaction drops by 35%. Student achievement stagnates when the adults can't sustain excellence, when you cannot get into that place of strategic excellence and all you're doing is putting the fire outfit on every day and racing to the next 411 alarm. 411? Nope, that's not it. Come on, put it in the comments. Yeah, the alarm, right? We can't deliver on our promises, right? If our systems don't allow for that. We don't rise to the level of our goals. Come on, James Clear. We fall to the level of our systems. So, how many of you right now feel like your challenge level keeps escalating, right? It just tippy top but your support level stays the same. How many of you are leading incredibly competent leaders, but secretly wondering how long you can maintain just the pace that you're on? And it's August. And unless you're out in, I don't know, Arizona or Florida or some of the school systems that start in July, what? I'm a nothing step, nothing really good happens until after Labor Day. Come on, let's squeeze some summer, folks. But how do you maintain this pace even now? How many of you have ever thought, I'm supposed to have it all figured out by now? Look, I've got 10 years until my state says I can retire. But I feel lost. So lost. More lost than even when I started, right? I've spent 12 years in Higher Performance Group. I launched it 12 years ago. And I've seen this pattern in every setting, from 400 student rural districts to 200,000 student urban systems, from community colleges to R1 universities. We promote people based upon their ability to handle the impossible stuff, right? And you've got it on paper because it's proven. Then wonder why they burn out when the challenges multiply exponentially without corresponding support systems. Here's why. So, felt the sneeze coming on. Here's what I've discovered. So thousands of observations across both sectors, K-12, higher ed. What I call the support challenge framework. It's the missing piece that determines whether leaders are going to thrive or merely just survive? ? Stanford Center for Work, Technology, and Organization conducted a longitudinal study of 2,400 leaders across multiple industries. They found that leadership effectiveness depends on the dynamic relationship between two variables: the challenge level and the support level, and how they're calibrated together. When challenge consistently exceeds support, more than 30% of leaders just experience what researchers call destructive stress. Said differently, destructive stress over time equals burnout, the kind that just breaks people rather than builds them up. UCLA did a comparable study as well. The neuroscience department, it reveals that mechanism. Dr. Matthew Lieberman, you can look that up. His studies show that when your brain perceives just that chronic challenge without adequate support, it actually activates the amygdala. I call it amygdala. Now, it's the amygdala. Yeah, it threatens that threat system. Yeah, it literally, when that thing is activated, it shuts down that prefrontal cortex, that center for all of the creative thinking that is needed for how are we going to fill in the blank, right? All of your collaborative instincts, your long-term visioning, right? You just get stuck in it and you can't access your highest leadership capacity when you're operating in a support deficit. Think about that for a minute. When all you're doing is being challenged without support, you are operating not from creativity. It's impossible. What can never live with creativity under stress? Or what? Say that again, Joe. Um, what can never happen under stress, under that aggressive, exaggerated stress? You can never be innovative. You can never be creative. Um, at most, you can be compliant to what is. Okay. Write that down because that's that good. Under that amount of tremendous pressure and stress, the only thing that you can produce is compliance because it's the only thing that you can reproduce, right? Under stress. Because fear and creativity, no bueno, they do not mix. They just don't mix. And we need more creativity than fear. But I mean, the wow, the esprit de corps of our entire public system is built right now. Not built. It's built on hope, folks. Um, but there's just been a thundercloud of fear that is not running out of any rain either. It just keeps it coming, doesn't it? The American Research Association, this was a 2024 study of superintendents, over 1,000 of them, found that those with that internal support system, they outperform their peers across every metric on student achievement, staff retention, all the most important things that you measure in terms of your overall performance. Okay. And their board satisfaction was 60% stronger. Why? They had the support systems. Okay, this really explains everything that the leaders that I've been watching struggle and wiggle and wobble through my consulting practice. They weren't lacking the competence or character. Good, righteous people on mission. Okay, incredibly competent. They're operating in an unsustainable framework where their challenges acceleration wasn't matched by commensurate support. And we've just, you know what that feels like, you know what that looks like. Okay, it's individual burnout. It's creating systems that become brittle because healthy teams need to build really robust systems. And right now our teams are filled with fear-filled leaders, right? That are nearing burnout under exaggerated stress. So our systems are becoming brittle. It only makes sense. I wish it weren't so. We've got just this innovation drought, and everybody is heading off to the next whatever conference, and it all has this innovative title, and the all the PDFs are really colorful and glossy and high energy, and people have an amazing time, and you get a free tote bag out of the deal. Yeah, but take it home, and we're back to crisis management. We've just got this innovation drought. And eventually you're going to have this talent exodus. How many of you have lost some really, really good talent recently? Just slipped out the back door and they went to work in a high challenge, high support culture because your support, not yours personally, but the culture of support, the system of support just wasn't there. Um, Yeah, your brain's capacity for strategic thinking, just that emotional regulation and innovation problem solving is directly linked to your perceived support to challenge ratio. And when it's not there, people see it. And when people see it, they go, I'm going to look for it again tomorrow. And if it's there consistently and chronically, watch the back door and you're going to see your best talent sneaking out because your highest capacity people, they want to be on winning teams. And winning teams have tightly calibrated support and challenge. When that ratio is imbalanced, every brilliant leader makes decisions from just that primal survival mode, right? Rather than thinking about, what does this now make possible? It's delightful when you see somebody that just enters into that zone, but it's only when they're most healthy, right? But I've met people who have actually mastered this framework. Um, and it changed how I approach leadership development within my little boutique consulting practice at Higher Performance Group. I actually had a virtual coffee with the university president who leads one of the largest and one of the most innovative organizations in America. They do not have a winning football team. Okay. But if I were to have any more children, my wife would kill me. So that's not going to happen. But if I were to send my grandkids off to a university, this is where I'd want them to go. But the complexity in this just um, macro, this behemoth of a system, it trumps anything I've ever seen or experienced in our conversations. He was in his office. It was a Thursday afternoon, surrounded by whiteboards. It was a practitioner. Sometimes you get those college presidents, and all they do is they're fundraisers, and they just are out with the community and getting tailored for their next suit and all starched up. But this this guy had like chalk on the rear end. He's a practitioner. And those whiteboards were just covered in his strategic initiatives to win and win again. I asked him about just sustainability after decades of his exponential growth. And he pulled out just one simple framework and said, "Hey, let me tell you about the day I learned the most important leadership principle of my life." Folks, I hope if you've been like just checking your email with this running in the background, right now is the opportunity to just push pause on that. This is one of the most successful university presidents in the world. And he said, "Let me tell you the day I learned the most important leadership principle of my life." And guess what? I quit daydreaming. Yeah. He said, "My daughter was interviewing me for a high school project about leadership." Okay. Um, and after 2 hours of questions about how I do visioning, how I do strategy, right? Strategic focus and decision making, she asked this most simple question. She said, "Dad, what's the most important thing you do as a leader?" He said, "I paused. He said, "I really had to think about this." What do you think he said? Put it in the chat. What do you think he said? It surprised me. He said, "The most important thing that I do as a leader is make sure I stay encouraged." Yeah, that's heavy. If you go to the gym and somebody's doing deadlifts, it just yeah, that sound, that hit with some weight personally. Make sure I stay encouraged. He said she looked confused, so I explained, "Honey, if I'm not encouraged, I can't be the leader. I can't be the husband to your mom or the father to you or really useful to anybody who needs me." So the single most important thing I do as a leader is systematically I have to stay encouraged because discouraged leaders make poor decisions. Wow. Talk about just the wise Jedi. He said, discouraged leaders, they build weak cultures. And ultimately, they fail the people that are counting on them. Isn't that good? Isn't that good? This would be a perfect time for a little commercial break for, you know, maybe some mental health organization that does things online. But again, we don't have a sponsor, so it's just me. But I'll tell you what neuroscience tells us about encouragement. One, it's not soft, right? Some of you hardline, some of you boomers out there that don't really believe in some of the soft science. Um, yeah, encouragement is strategic leadership. And when leaders systematically build encouragement or support, right, relative to their challenge, again, balanced and calibrated, they literally reshape their brain's neural pathways uh, for excellence. Actually, you can look this up. Dr. Rick Hansen, UC Berkeley, his work shows that intentional support practices, they increase just that neuroplasticity. It enhances your decision making capacity and improves stress resilience by up to 75%. So, how are you staying encouraged, folks? This isn't positive thinking, woo woo. It's neurological optimization. And who wouldn't want some of that, right? So, here's the support challenge protocol that transformed his leadership and now guides my work at Higher Performance Group. So, step one, do a challenge audit. You don't know what you know unless you put it on the table. I want to just ask you comprehensively, just draw out everything that currently is demanding your leadership energy and attention, your biggest rocks right now. I've got another book project underway and met with the publisher yesterday. And yeah, I felt like I was back in sophomore regular English class because I never took those really high end, lots of red marks all over the place. And what I thought was complete as a draft now is a demanding thing that will be taking my energy and my attention for another couple of weeks. But stay tuned. Stay tuned. Um, yeah, really excited about that. So map it all out. Your big rocks, the things that are demanding your energy and your attention. Now, specifically identify next what recharges your leadership capacity. Maybe that's, my walk with Miss Becky every day. We walk the dog, Miss Edda, and me and my two girls. Maybe it's just activities that you do, pickleball, whatever it happens to be. Your practices. You go into your listening room. I had a one-on-one the other day, and the executive was talking about his listening room where he just goes to chill and listen to music. Maybe it's just environments that you put yourself in. Yeah, identify what recharges you. So one, map out your challenges. Do a challenge audit. Two, map out your support inventory. Okay. Three, just quantitatively assess whether your support systems actually match your challenge level. Do you have enough on the support side that happens to be feeding appropriately your challenge side? Yeah, just do a ratio analysis. And I don't know, it's maybe qualitatively, maybe not quantitatively, but somehow figure out and look to see if that's balanced. And then build some support architecture. Start thinking about a systematically way to design and implement the support structures that scale proportionally with your challenges. So if you're 2 times a week walking the dog with Miss Becky happens to be one of your key energy builders, maybe you're going to pop that up to a day or two more per week, or, you know, whatever it happens to be. How are you working the architecture to build systemic excellence? Because it won't happen accidentally. Okay. So take this challenge on as you would any budget challenge or any initiative where it's kind of a heavy lift, right? And then the last step, and I'll leave you with this: establish those indicators that predict when your ratio is becoming unsustainable before the fertilizer hits the fan, right? Before the crisis actually hits. So you're doing some preventative work. So put together some sustainability metrics of the things that you can do to support Your big challenges each and every week, each and every month, they become, or you don't even have to think about them anymore. Put them in your green zone of those things that you eat, that support stuff that you consume every single day, right? My guess is if you do that, map out your challenges, um, analyze or appropriately put together your support inventory, do a ratio analysis of what's high, what's low. Most likely, your challenges are going to be higher than your support, right? Build some support architecture that would say these are the things that I must do just metronomically, right? And then build sustainability metrics of things that you can actually check on a Friday and go, did I do this in order to keep my best the best? My guess is if you build something like that, you're going to see your fatigue decrease. You're going to see your performance improve. Um, I think your innovation velocity, you're going to see some things like, whoa, where did that idea come from? Yeah, it's not magic, folks. It's just straight up good system planning, right? You're also going to see just your own personal life, the things on the life side of sustainable habits skyrocketing. Yeah. So put this to the test. I'm sure you're going to see some things on the life side and the leadership side that might make you go, right? But here's the most powerful part. I think when leaders model that sustainable support system, they give the entire organization permission to do the same. I use this oftentimes when I do a workshop on the power focus, right? That thing that gets lost come September of every school year. It would just like you get lost in it. Um, and the challenge is to the boss. Hey, boss, your team should have 20% focus time every day, every week, right? An hour a day or a day a week where they're actually working on strategy. If you're going to continue to grow, and the boss is usually good about giving that stuff away. The boss is terrible about claiming it themselves. So don't let your admin assistant steal your focus time by just layering over meeting after meeting after me. Be better than that. Don't be a jerk about it. Okay. You're going to have to turn that dial to go, we're going to do things a little bit differently because my goal is not to survive this year. We're going to do it differently. Going to do it differently. So if you don't intentionally address your support to challenge ratio, uh, inevitably, you know what's going to happen. You'll keep trying to solve leadership problems. You're going to have the same stupid conversations that you had last semester. You're going to have them this semester. You're going to have the same gaps that have not been occluded. You're going to have wonderful ideas that people agree to, but putting it into action, not going to happen, boss. And you'll model this unsustainable leadership for the next generation of leaders that are looking at you saying, I guess that's how it is done. Yeah. And the personal costs are going to go deeper than your own exhaustion. you, you'll start to make critical decisions from survival mode rather than excellence mode. And what you had on print a few years ago on your resume, that might be the best days that you've had yet. No, I think the worst should be behind you. Yeah, you'll lose access to your most creative thinking. Don't let that happen, boss. Don't let that. Let what happens really matters. Okay. Let it, yeah. Make sure it really matters. Build for the next 10 years of developing a leader-proof system that others can look to and go, now that is distinctively different. So think about that support challenge framework. Imagine leading from strength rather than just surviving on fumes. It is possible, right? Imagine just making complex budget decisions, those personal choices, strategic pivots, and not forgetting to pick up the bread, milk, and Salmon, because we're having salmon tonight. Don't just, you're just checking all the boxes with clarity because you're operating from sustainable excellence. Imagine modeling that kind of leadership that your team wants to emulate rather than just endure another year with your same leadership behaviors. Um, yeah, and it's hard. These habits are going to be hard to break because everybody depends on you to be leading the same way that you always had because nobody else understands anything different. So if I can help you to kind of reframe that, um, I had a leader ask me. This was a year ago when I was just teeing off some really important things that leader needed to do. And she said, "Have you lost your mind?" And I said, "Yes, actually, I have. And I've replaced it with an altogether different mind because most leaders today have lost their mind. You're no longer thinking about how your calendar is put together. You're no longer thinking about what do I need to build a sustainable culture, right? That embraces both support and challenge. So lose your mind with me this year, folks. Just lose it. And yeah, reclaim that space, reclaim your momentum. It's not about how do I handle more challenges. The question is, how do I build the support systems that scale intelligently with my challenges? So right now, before the stream ends, I want you to do something it's going to shift your perspective immediately. Take 90 seconds and create two specific lists. One, what currently is challenging you as a leader? Be specific, write it down. The budget, right? The board, the, the bus transportation department. Let's just keep with the B's, right? The boundary line discussions, right? Maybe it's enrollment concerns, just the achievement gaps. But I don't think, oftentimes it's not really about achievement gaps, right? Because the community's never really like all up in arms. Mm. But you fudge a little bit and you have to ask a little bit on the budget side. Gloves are off, jerseys over the back. People want to just fight. Mm. Faculty tensions, yeah, that might be on the list. Then on the other side, T square this thing. Challenges, and then list specifically what recharges you and your leadership capacity. Not what you think should work, but what actually you do that energizes you. And if you've never done anything, then you can make something up and then do it later this afternoon. Actually commit to doing it. Right? Just seeing this ratio, if you just put it on a piece of paper right there in front of you, it'll give you immediate clarity about why leadership feels the way it does. Order right now. Yeah. So, last thing I just want you to do, I want you to take the free team intelligence assessment I've developed specifically for educational leaders at higherperformancegroup.com. You'll find it. You'll find it. You'll find the button that says discover your team intelligence. I want you to take that free assessment. The diagnostic, that tool will reveal exactly where your support to challenge ratio is strong and where creating the better balance happens to be, where you might be seeing just that unsustainable stress. So it will help to inform some of your own professional, personal goals this year. It'll only take you 5 minutes, honestly. But it's a team assessment, so it's not really something that you take as an individual. If I'm assuming that you lead people, so it's an assessment. Love to have at least 10 in the N to make sure we've got a good sample size. Those who take the TQ assessment will also be given a 30-minute consultation this summer, fall. So to give you some insights and results in some other free tools to reclaim that momentum this year, whether you're leading a district, a campus, a department. I know this short assessment, it only takes 5 minutes. Again, it's going to yield just a vivid picture of your current team reality and give you the supports to drive continuous improvement, the kind that your students, your community deserve, boss. So next week, we're going to dive into the topic of, you know what? I'm never really sure because each week my streams are inspired by you. hmm Your problems, the things you're pinging me with. Yeah, I want to make this thing as practical, not theoretical. There's enough of that mushy gushy stuff out there because you need breakthroughs. You don't need BS. That's the reality. So you have a choice right now. You can continue trying to solve leadership challenges with more effort, pedal harder, longer hours, and heroic individualism. Right? You can be that person. In fact, if you are, and make sure you get the camera out there and you're just like taking clips of yourself, doing what you do. Yeah, because all the world needs to see how heroic you really are. But realize that, yes, most important thing you need to do is keep yourself encouraged. I think the other most important thing you need to do is build healthy teams. Yeah. And that is not done having you on the podium every single day, right? I want you to build intelligent support systems that make excellence sustainable for the long haul, right? So, yeah, if you commit to just systematically building support systems that match your challenges, I promise, pinky swear promise. Um, and this is built on 12 years of data. You're going to lead from strength rather than surviving on fumes. I promise. Your team will see what sustainable excellence really looks like, maybe for the very, very first time. Right. And you're going to model leadership that others want to emulate. And they're going to be calling you saying, tell me, is the juice worth the squeeze? Right. And you're going to say, absolutely, because I'm getting home on time to my family. We have very productive meetings. My board tension isn't what it used to be. Wow. The letters to the editor, they're not gone, but they've been cut down by 73%, whatever it happens to be. You'll create the kind of impact that's both significant and sustainable. You know, the students in your schools across your campuses and they deserve leaders who operate from sustainable excellence rather than just that heroic depletion. Yeah. Crashing on the weekend is not heroic, folks, right? Let's all come to work working from rest rather than thinking about, oh, Friday comes, I can rest from work. It's different, right? And I learned that the hard way. Don't let another semester um, just pass trying to solve sustainable problems with unsustainable solution. Take the assessment, highperformancegroup.com. Let's build that support system, transform your leadership sustainability. And if you found value in today's stream, anything, um, don't take offense at any of my stupid jokes, but um, and you want to subscribe just for more sustainable leadership contents specifically designed for you as campus leaders. Your engagement really helps me reach more soups and presidents who are trying to do this transformational thing in many times very unsustainable ways. So, but here's the thing, if this content really resonated with you and you want to design specific support systems for your district or for your campus, for your teams, let's have a strategic conversation. You can book a complimentary, I do 30-minute virtual coffees. I have them every single day and I love them. I really do. It's a time to just meet people in the field who are doing the heroic work of building systems and the conditions for your people to be successful. I'll leave that link in the description here. It's out there someplace. My admin tells me where it's at, but I never really know where it's at. But look for the virtual coffee link. You'll find it, and you can easily just book a time that works from you. Because sometimes the best insights, they do come from those focused conversations, between leaders who understand that sustainability, yeah, it's not weakness, it's wisdom. So if this hits home, let's share a cup of Joe, right? Joe together. Thanks for joining me today. Remember that just the goal, it's not to be strong enough to handle any challenge. The goal is to be, it's wisdom, isn't it? It's wise enough to build the support systems to make excellence sustainable and to model the way. Keep inspiring the heart. Your students are counting on you. Your team is watching, and your legacy, hmm, yeah, depends on it. Live well, lead well. Peace, friends.